Hello and welcome to this week's Ruby Shoes podcast, bringing you the very best of local entertainment across East Anglia each and every week. I'm pleased to say I am feeling so much better than I was this time last week. And I'm actually looking out of the studio windows. You've got big, bright blue skies and crisp white, frosty rooftops I'm looking over. Yes, it's one of those cold mornings, but it's absolutely beautiful outside. Now, this week, I've got a chat with Peter Duncan, who has a brilliant initiative which the whole family can get involved with. Plus, I've been chatting to the director of a local pantomime, which is about to open. And I've been to see the Common Ground Theatre Company in fine form. So I've got a review of their current show, which is on tour until the 21st of this month. First, though, actor, writer, director, and former Blue Peter presenter, Peter Duncan.
Young people are so into making stuff on Instagram, TikTok, sharing with their mates, and a lot of those skills of sort of filmmaking are the same as those. Really, you're getting material together and you're putting it. You're either sharing it or it's quite a creative thing and often very funny and then that's the world that we live in, that's going on. But I'm an actor and I come from drama background, what always disappoints me is that it's always so short, and actually there's never perhaps any good writing in it. It's not. So the idea of Treasure Island, which is a fantastic book and a great story full of philosophy and adventure, was to try and facilitate a system whereby kids could make their own film of Treasure Island. It's as simple as that. So as well as getting a kind of adapted script and some songs and tracks and music, they also get what we're calling sort of tutorials of showing them how to do different things. And the main thing is lots of stuff now is done with green screen. So they can get these elaborate backgrounds for being on islands and being on ships at sea, as well as actually filming it, on a location that they can find. So it was to encourage their creativity, really.
Which is a brilliant thing, isn't it? And you're right. You can't stop children kind of going down the digital age, but if you can actually achieve something whereby they are using their kind of old school skills, but in a very modern way, that's such a clever thing to do, I think, and a really fun thing for them as well. Is there an age limit, do you think, for children to get involved in this?
No, I probably say pitched it. I keep getting told, young people won't do that because they're too young and they don't understand. Of course, everyone knows that young people are far more clued up. So, but I'm gone for sort of late primary and also it's not just about schools, it's about families. So it's very much a thing that a family could do. So when you sign up, you get a green screen and you have to set it up, and getting the backgrounds is fairly easy. And even if it's a short version, you've got something that you've made. You could have a competition in your own family who can make the best film. And because they've got all the materials to do it with, it's a way of, it's a new idea, and who knows how it will develop. But I agree with you. I think it's a good idea.
I definitely do. And you're basically, yes, people can have a lot of fun with it, but actually you're sowing the seed there for the next generation of Spielbergs, hopefully, as well. There's going to be one or two, at least, who are going to come out of this, and that's going to be their first taste of filmmaking. They're going to think, yeah, I want to make a career out of this, don't you think?
Well, sort of. It has become a bit more democratic. The fortunes that are spent by the streamers and by big film companies now. A lot of people spend a lot of their life watching films or TV dramas, high-end TV dramas. So, yes, and it's, the industry has, I suppose, in some ways suffered a bit with, so many people want to be part of it in different ways and it's supposedly poorly paid. But I'm not really thinking it as a career thing. While we sort of still live in a reasonably democratic society where we are, it's nice for people to express themselves without limits, and people can do what they want. And I suppose it's the intent of it, if I can use that word, is that Treasure Island to me, and I've done it twice in my life, when I was a young actor of 15 and 25 years later at the Edinburgh Festival. So it's a piece of writing and theatre that I know really well, and I think it's the it's the confusion of the morality of the stories that you have these nasty, pirates, particularly Long John Silver, and an innocent lad or lass, because there's no role gender. There's fluid gender in this production or their productions, or I've suggested it should be. And it's the relationship between this older one-legged man and this young lad, which shows extraordinary understanding. But I mean, I'm getting a bit complicated about it now, but that's the heart of the story, that there's a bond between them. So though you're in this, I'm not likening it to all the conflicts that we see, but in the midst of this conflict that they have trying to find treasure, and the rich people who hide the ship are as bad as the pirates in some ways. They're all seeking wealth that they've not, in a sense, earned. So it is a morality tale and exciting at the same time. So I thought it was great material to use.
Now, not only have you got that people can get involved in, but people can also watch pantomimes online. Am I right in thinking there's 3 of them as well?
Well, that's the name of the company, yes. Pantoonline.co.uk, yes. So first one was Jack and the Beanstalk, which we shot during the first lockdown or just before. And then we did a bigger version of Cinderella, a more expensive film, the following year. And then we did a third one called Panto Land, which is a mixture of lots of Panto stories. So there's 3 films out there, and they all went into cinemas, and obviously they're streamed online as well. So it was very much a way of me expressing myself in times of difficulty, really, and getting lots of friends and mates and creatives together to do something that other people saw. That's what I suppose that's what actors, directors, producers do, isn't it? They make stuff.
I mean, you and I are chatting over Zoom now, and I mean, thank goodness for things like Zoom and Teams and all these things that came out of pandemic, because otherwise none of us would have been able to see each other. None of us have been able to use our creativity at all. But it's fantastic that you in particular have been able to use that technology and carry it forward to this day now. Those pantomimes that you shot then, are they still available? Can people still sort of go back and see?
Oh, yes, they're all available, but particularly to schools, because you get all the education facilities with it. So it's been very popular with schools over the years. But we now, if you buy Treasure Island and go for that, you'll get all 3 films. So you can see 3 finished films as well. So in other words, you get all the materials. We'll send you out a green screen and the script and the music and the sheet music and we'll also send you the 3 films as well. So you for 55 quid, you're getting a lot of stuff.
You certainly are. And that, I just think it's such an original gift as well. I think it's brilliant,
it is.
Isn't it?
I mean, it does require a bit of effort. You've got to get together and do it. It's not a passive kind of thing, but that's, that endeavour is part of the fun of it.
Yeah, and it's quite nice actually for families to get together, or siblings to get together and work on a project, rather than all work individually in their own rooms and not really sort of come together. So I think I love it. I love the idea. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Peter, I couldn't let you go, and I'm sure everybody does this to you, without asking you about your days in Blue Peter.
Oh, sure. I never know when people start that sentence what they're going to refer to. There's loads of things, but yes. Your career as an actor, you're scouting Blue Peter, yes.
I know. Well, I mean, there's so much we could ask about, but I have to ask about Blue Peter, because people will be listening to this and saying, is that Peter Duncan from Blue Peter? Of course it is. Just remind us, how many episodes did you do of Blue Peter in the end?
Oh, blimey, episodes. Well, I did sort of 3 and a bit years initially, and then I left for a couple of years to go back to theatre essentially, and then I went back again and did Duncan Dare. So it's 80s really, 80s, early to mid 80s. I did it for.
And am I right?
5 or 6 years. That
then led on to Duncan Dares. Am I right in thinking? Have I got that?
Yeah. Oh, I did them at the same time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. I remember them, but I was a child at the time, so.
Yes, well, that's why yes, that's why I'm your era. Yeah,
exactly.
No, I mean, I've always
been such a lot of fun to do it, though.
Well, again, it was kind of hard work. I mean, it's fun in the sense of the things you learned and the things that you did, and the fact that you were, it's going out live. That was very akin to theatre stuff, and you go into a big studio in the morning, and it wasn't just sitting on a sofa and being passive and chatting about the day's events. You were actually doing stuff. So it was very different to a lot of stuff in the media. If you're a presenter, which is reasonably static, I mean, you might end up in the jungle. Who knows? But again, you're somewhat manipulated and made to suffer. Whereas being a Blue Peter presenter is a joy, really. And if you don't do it too long, it's you look back on it with great affection, really. And of course it's social value, although it sort of declined somewhat in its I would say its readership, but I suppose that's the same thing. And it doesn't have the social influence it has because of the world has expanded into all kinds of other stuff. But it was such a good thing, like scouting. It was older people in a sense, working for younger people and telling them about things and life that are interesting to do and think about.
Yeah.
Without prejudice.
Just one final thing. What would be a highlight from those Blue Peter days for you? I mean, I'm sure there was many, but is there one thing that you could pick out that you particularly enjoyed doing or is particularly memorable for you?
Well, I was always good at the daring do stuff. So I used to enjoy going on so-called expeditions. I couldn't call them holidays, expeditions. And I remember my first one was to Japan. And I've been thinking how I'd like to go back. Why? Because I came across something. I came across a Japanese print. I thought, well, is it time to go back and or try to go back? And I think fighting a sumo wrestler in a sumo wrestler samurai movie, and then fighting a real sumo wrestler, or I should dare say having a lesson. And yeah, it was the first culture that I'd been to that was so extreme and different from mine, and had been been there for thousands of years, and kind of, I found that deeply as a slightly uneducated youth. I wasn't uneducated, but I mean, I had a poor education really. So suddenly to go on Blue Peter and then be travelling the world, it was a great thrill.
And if you and your family fancy making your own panto, you can go to pantoonline.co.uk to find out more details. If you click on the link for Treasure Island, you can see that you can make your own movie. You can actually buy the pack, £55, including postage and packing. And as Peter said there, you get everything that you want, basically, to create the screenplay, which has been adapted by Peter. And it's suitable for all ages. So good luck with that. You never know. You might be just inspiring the next generation of filmmakers. Clarissa Place is directing the Springfield Follies Panto this year, and I caught up with her to find out how things are going. I'm joined now on the Ruby Shoes podcast by Clarissa Place, who is the producer and director and probably master of just about everything for the Springfield Follies pantomime Aladdin, which comes out this month, January the 27th, and also February the 3rd. And it's going to be a flying into Kesgrave Community Hall. Clarissa, thank you so much for joining us, especially when it's a really busy time right now. I would imagine you're right in the thick of rehearsals and things, I'm guessing.
It is. Monday is our last rehearsal of 2023, and then we have a couple of weeks off, and then basically 19 days, and then we're on the stage, which is crazy thinking where we started auditions back in July, and now it's edging ever closer.
It is. And is this the first pantomime you've ever directed, or is this something that's not new to you?
So this is my third show, and I'm really fortunate. It's the third of my scripts that I've been very fortunate to also direct. But this is my first with the Springfield Follies. I joined them as a new member last year after moving back to Suffolk. And yeah, it's just been fantastic to have their support, to have this opportunity and bring Aladdin to life in hopefully a slightly different way, but a familiar way that everyone knows.
And what made you want to go down the route of directing? Because lots of people want to go into Amdram, and it's a really fun thing to do, and especially Panto, because there's just something very special about it. But you've put yourself under quite a lot of pressure, haven't you, by being the director and the producer, because the buck stops with you, basically.
It is. And, there are definitely challenges that you do wonder at times, going, oh, is this something I can do? But it all comes down to who your cast is. And I think there is something special in producing something you've written, because you can really take it from the page to the stage, and all the when you're sitting and writing it and you visualize it, and then you talk through with people and they help make that idea a reality, it's really fulfilling. And that's from every aspect, from the actors and how they see the role, to how people take my terrible drawings and make the sets. It's and the costumes as well. You really get to be hands-on in so many different ways, and be part of this massive team.
Now that you've been writing and directing a pantomime, is it something that you would relish doing again, or do you think, do you know what, I'm quite happy to put that on the shelf now and move on and do something else? How has it kind of made you feel?
I like the mix. I think it's really important that if I have another script idea, because there's a load of panto scripts I would love the chance to write, and I kind of have those written down of going, at some point hopefully I can put a script together just to have a catalogue of panto shows. But I love being on stage as well. It's really the whole mix, and I think you just know when it's a time to be like, well, actually I want to be part of a cast, or I don't mind taking charge and putting on a show. It's a really nice mix, really, to be able to have the opportunity to do both.
Yeah, I bet. So tell me about this particular show, this particular Aladdin. What size is the cast, and what elements are we going to recognise as yours, do you think? Without giving too much away, of course.
I think what I've always loved about Panto is how different companies make shows relevant, to the area. So I hope people notice a lot of kind of Ipswich and Suffolk-ness in our magical land, starting with the fact that it's called Ipsabar, and little nods that way. And we've got a fairly good sized cast of about 20 people. Our youngest members about 8 or 9, and the fact that we've got children through to members who have been part of the company for over 40 years. We've got a wide variety of experiences, for people doing panto for the very first time, some that have been doing it every single year since they've been a member of the company, and their love for panto just shines through. And even though I've only been a member of Follies for a very, very short time, they have their own distinct style, and people know what they're coming to when they come to a Folly show. And what I've tried to bring is kind of a bit of my kind of energy as well, because I am very much a person who doesn't sit down. I've challenged the cast a little bit with a few extra dance routines, more than we usually do. And I think it's very much the story of Aladdin as people know it. The Cave of Wonders and a magical genie and a good old villain. But just hopefully just something that would feel timeless as well. Set in 2023, the costumes, that sort of thing is hopefully what people will see as my touch. So tickets are available on our phone hotline or by messaging the Springfield Follies Facebook page, which is at Springfield Follies Ipswich. A hotline number is 07471 580 608. Or if you do happen to know one of our fantastic cast members, just ask them to reserve you a ticket and they'll be there on the door.
Brilliant. And are you always looking for new members and volunteers for the Springfield Follies?
Oh, absolutely. I think any amateur dramatics group, they relish having new blood come in, new ideas. Myself, I was a new member just last year, and it keeps the group going. Follies this is their 76th year, and they have members who've been there 50, 60, sometimes, not quite the full 75, but they've come and they've stayed and they love it. But we want to keep going for as many years as possible. So yes, absolutely. And particularly if you're maybe worried about being on stage for the first time, there's plenty of behind the scenes roles. I also help with publicity, and getting the message out about the shows are so important. And people who love to paint, we've had new people this year who are, they're helping me make, helping with the flying carpet and the sets and stuff. And it's so important to just have, and these people give their time up for free, which is incredible.
Yeah, and it's all just a lovely community and a lovely big family to be part of, isn't it, when you do Amdram? Lovely to talk to you as well, Clarissa, and good luck with it. And please keep in touch and let me know about the next shows you've got coming up, especially, when you've got the summer show coming up. We would love to hear about it.
That would be fantastic. Thank you ever so much.
Miss Mimple Meets the Ice Wolf is the fabulously titled, hilarious spoof horror written and directed by Pat Wymark from the Common Ground Theatre Company. Last week, you might remember I interviewed Julian Harries, who's one of the actors who plays Coco, Lars von Tuzel and Bubbles in the play. He kindly invited Ruby Shoes along to see the play and to review it. Have a listen to this.
There's chaos on the mountainside. Can anyone hear me? The Splugen Pass is blocked, and the cable car between Kunkel's Ridge and Lauterbrunnen Village has been vandalized at the Tesco's roundabout. I repeat, send help! Mayday! Mayday! Oh God, I might be too late. I don't have much time, so I'm recording this while I'm still able to speak. It's December 24th, 1957, midnight. Despite the snow clouds, the moon is full, and I have a good view of the surrounding terrain. The power is out, so the perimeter fence is useless. I'm alone. There's no food. I'm down to my last 2 sherbet lemons. They've all gone except me, the team at the Pandoro Research Facility, and abandoned Schloss 15,000 feet above sea level, at the pit where Switzerland meets Italy. I like to call it Switterly. I don't know where my colleagues are, but I can guess what's going to happen to them. Perhaps a fate beyond human experience, a fate worse than death. We were a mixed bag of boffins. Myself, Commander Todd Queasy of the U.S. military, Professor Lars von Tuzel, our chief scientist and project leader.
Now, the premise of this really funny play is amateur sleuth and part-time dog trainer Miss Jean Mimple is on a hiking tour of the Italian Alps. She meets Dr. Bridges and they try to uncover the mysterious ice wolf, or Bestia gelato, which has been terrorising the region. There's 4 actors. Marcus Churchill from Essex. He's also the chair of trustees for local youth drama charity KYDS. He plays Todd Queasy and Mick. Emily Bennett's in it too. Now, you may know her as she coaches the Felixstowe Community Choir. She takes on the roles of Jane Mimple herself and Rima. And finally, actor Bewley Dean Stanton, described as a Swiss Army knife of an actor who plays Carmion, Bob, Vogel and Harry. Now, this play, it's both funny, it's fast-moving, there's plenty of one-line gags, which if you blink, you will miss. There's music too from the 50s, with the actors, as well as acting out their roles brilliantly with perfect comic timing, also accompanying themselves on accordion, guitar and violin. Now, the tour of Miss Jean Mimple Meets the Ice Wolf is on currently at the Gallery Studio in Ipswich, and that's until Thursday the 18th, so that's Thursday of this week. Then it moves for one final performance on Sunday the 21st of January at the Zinc Arts Theatre at Chipping Ongar. That's the earliest start time of 5 p.m, that performance. And this final special performance is in aid of the Essex and Herts Air Ambulance. Tickets are available on their website, commongroundtc.co.uk. Get yours. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. Now, how do you fancy reviewing a forthcoming theatre show near where you live? Well, if you do, get in touch with us via our socials at Ruby Shoes Podcast. Let me know what the show is about and what you fancy reviewing, and tell us when it's on, and also a little bit about you as well, and you could be a featured reviewer on a future episode. You can also listen back to any of our Ruby Shoes podcasts via Apple or Spotify or your smart speaker, or just simply click on the weekly podcast links which we post on our Facebook page, Ruby Shoes Podcast, and you can give us a follow as well. I'm Steph McIntyre. Thanks for listening, and we'll chat more about live theatre and entertainment in next week's episode. In the meantime, do check out our socials at Ruby Shoes Podcast. Wrap up warm and have a great week, won't you?